In many Western cities, $500 a month isn't even enough to rent a small room. No balcony, no sunlight, just four walls and a bill that arrives on time every single month. You work all week, paid just to keep working, and then repeat the same cycle again. But in a few other places in the world, that same $500 is enough for a life. A simple but quiet home, hot meals every day, internet that works, and mornings where you don't have to rush to check the clock. We are living inside a strange contradiction. We work more, we spend more, but we live less. Not because you are lazy and not because you are incapable, but because the cost of living has slowly erased every space to breathe. And before we go any further, one thing needs to be clear. This is not a video about living poorly, and it is not a call to give everything up. This is a story about places where living enough still exists, where people are not measured by salary or by the speed of their lives. If $6,000 a year could buy back time, buy back mornings without alarms, meals without calculations, and days that feel lighter, then the question is not, should you, but would you dare? Country 5 Laos, where time moves slower than the clock itself. In some places, time doesn't disappear because you're busy. It disappears because no one is paying attention to it anymore. Laos is one of those places. Mornings by the Mekong River begin softly. A thin layer of mist drifts over the water. Temple bells echo in the distance, not to wake anyone, but simply to mark the arrival of a new day. Along the narrow riverside road, street vendors light their stoves, and the scent of sticky rice, strong coffee, and cooking smoke blends into the cool morning air. Here, there is no concept of being late, no deadlines, no pressure to perform. Life isn't divided into productivity checkpoints. People work when it's needed rest, when they're tired, and stop naturally when they feel it's enough. No one asks what you're trying to accomplish today. You're simply expected to be present. Because the rhythm is like that, money becomes quiet too. A simple home, bright enough, airy enough, calm enough, usually costs $150 to $200 a month. Local meals require little thought, hot food, fresh vegetables, dishes cooked right in front of you. About $120 comfortably covers a month of eating. Transportation by motorbike or tuk-tuk, along with basic utilities and internet, fits into around $80. Altogether, a complete life settles naturally into $400 to $450 a month without cutting corners and without counting every dollar. Healthcare in Laos is basic but functional for everyday needs. Routine issues are easy to handle locally. For more complex care, many long-term residents choose to travel to Thailand. This isn't a source of anxiety, it's simply part of how people plan their lives here. Preparation replaces fear. Living in Laos does require a clear kind of acceptance. Internet is slow. Services don't move at the pace of the modern world. If you need high-end conveniences and instant responses, this place won't bend to you. Laos doesn't try to become another version of somewhere else. And precisely because of that, it holds on to something many places have lost. Laos doesn't give you many choices, but it gives you a great deal of quiet. And sometimes that alone is enough to make life feel wide open, to breathe deeply, and to stay longer than you ever expected. Country 4. Albania. The quiet side of Europe that almost no one notices. Not Paris, not Rome, and definitely not the European cities you usually see on magazine covers. Albania enters your life very quietly. It doesn't advertise itself. It doesn't show off. It simply exists, waiting until you are tired enough to realize how valuable silence can be. Mornings in a small coastal city like Saranda or Vlora begin slowly. The sun rises gently over the Adriatic Sea, the light soft, never harsh. A small cafe opens early. Strong hot coffee is poured into a ceramic cup with a slightly chipped rim. In front of you, the sea is so calm you can almost see your reflection. No car horns, no meeting alerts, no one asking what you need to do today. In Albania, life is not measured in hours. It's measured in how long you stay seated. Elderly locals sit in cafes from morning until noon, talking about the weather, about meals, about things that don't need to be solved right away. No one pushes you to move on. No one asks about 5-year plans. Life here doesn't shove you forward. It allows you to remain still. And only after you begin to settle into that feeling does money quietly enter the picture. A small room or modest apartment, bright enough, clean enough to call home, usually costs $200 to $250 a month. Local food requires no calculation. Fresh fish, vegetables, bread, cheese, $150 comfortably covers the month. Transportation, electricity, water, internet. Everything fits neatly into $80 to $100. Nothing makes you sigh when you pay. Altogether, a very European, very real life comes in at around $450 to $500 a month. Healthcare in Albania isn't flashy, but it's practical. Private clinics are affordable, straightforward, and rarely require long waits. In small cities, people know one another, and that creates a different kind of safety. You can walk in the evening without constantly checking over your shoulder. Of course, Albania isn't perfect. English is not widely spoken, especially among older generations, and the pace of life is so slow that if you are used to always being busy, it may test your patience. Albania doesn't cater to people who need constant stimulation. It challenges you with stillness. But in that stillness, many people notice something for the first time. They no longer feel chased, not by time, not by money. Albania isn't glamorous, but it gives you a Europe that doesn't rush. A place where slowing down isn't a luxury, it's simply the default way of life. Country. 3. Nicaragua, Central America, but without the rush. Nicaragua doesn't arrive with images meant to impress you right away. It opens itself slowly. A morning in Granada begins with low sunlight falling across old stone streets, bright enough to reveal color, but never harsh. Church bells ring at a steady pace, not to hurry anyone. Near the small central square, the market comes to life, gently produce laid-out vendors, greeting one another as if every morning were simply another page of the same story. Life here doesn't revolve around schedules, it revolves around people. Mornings at the market, midday meals shared with family or neighbors, afternoons spent sitting outside talking. People know each other by name, by habit, by whether you show up today or not. No one asks what grand goal you're chasing. What matters is whether you're there. In that kind of rhythm, money begins to feel light. A small, simple home, cool enough, private enough, usually costs $200 to $250 a month. Food requires no careful planning. Local meals, warm and filling, run about $150 a month. Transportation by bus or motorbike, along with utilities and internet, fits comfortably into $80. Altogether, a complete life in Nicaragua settles into $480 to $500 a month without sacrificing comfort. In terms of safety, smaller cities like Granada feel generally calm. People recognize one another. Evenings are quiet. As anywhere, it's best to avoid loud tourist areas where the pace accelerates unnecessarily. Staying within local neighborhoods keeps life simple and steady. Living in Nicaragua does require an understanding of certain realities. Administrative processes can move slowly. Political shifts can bring occasional uncertainty. But for those seeking a place to slow down, to step away from the noise of modern life, these factors become part of the broader landscape rather than obstacles. Nicaragua doesn't try to impress you. It doesn't sell an image or promise something extraordinary. It simply allows you to stay. And sometimes that quiet permission is exactly why people remain far longer than they originally planned. Country 2, Morocco. Africa, but deeply human. Morocco doesn't welcome you with silence. It pulls you into its rhythm from the very first morning. Inside the Medina, narrow alleyways begin to wake. Fresh bread, still warm, is stacked on wooden trays. Mint tea simmers gently in metal teapots, its fragrance drifting through the air, along with familiar greetings from shopkeepers. No giant billboards, no flashing screens, just people and the honest movement of daily life. Life in Morocco revolves around three steady anchors: the market, the tea shop, and the family. Mornings belong to the market, buying only what's needed for the day, nothing more. Midday is for shared meals, unhurried and communal. Afternoons settle into tea shops, where people sit, talk, and watch the world pass by. Here, people consume less, but they are more present. Fewer purchases, fewer possessions, more eye contact, more conversation, more moments fully lived. And once you settle into that rhythm, money enters quietly. A home outside the city center, cool, private, and simple, usually costs around $250 a month. Local food is flavorful and straightforward, with $150 comfortably covering a month of meals. Transportation by small taxis or buses, along with utilities and internet, fits into about $80. Altogether, a full and grounded life comes together at around $500 a month, without sacrifice, without pressure. Healthcare in Morocco is reliable in larger cities. Private clinics are accessible and reasonably priced for everyday needs. For more serious care, insurance is a wise choice, not out of fear, but out of preparedness. Here, planning ahead creates peace of mind. Living in Morocco also calls for clear respect. Islamic culture shapes daily life from prayer times to clothing and social customs. When you honor these traditions, doors open naturally. Hospitality isn't loud or performative, but steady and sincere. You're not scrutinized. You're welcomed because you know how to listen. Morocco isn't inexpensive because it is poor. It is inexpensive because life here doesn't revolve around money. And when money stops being the center, other things, time, connection, and a sense of belonging, quietly become abundant. Country 1. Paraguay. Where money is small but space feels wide, Paraguay doesn't arrive with images that demand your attention. It unfolds slowly. A morning in Asunción, or in a small town just outside the city, has no towering high-rises and no rushing noise. The light comes early, falling straight onto wide, quiet streets. You open the window and hear no car horns, only birds, and the familiar footsteps of neighbors starting their day. Life in Paraguay revolves around the most basic things: family, neighbors, shared meals. People stop by each other's homes without appointments. Midday is for lunch. Late afternoon is for sitting together. There's no sense that you have to be somewhere else fast. Life here doesn't require busyness to prove worth. Being present is enough. Living this way makes costs feel light. A small, simple, well-ventilated home typically runs about $200 a month. Food is straightforward, but abundant local meat, vegetables, fruit with $150 comfortably covering a month. Transportation by bus or motorbike plus utilities and internet comes to around $80. Altogether, a complete life in Paraguay usually totals $430 to $480 a month, without constant calculation and without sacrificing comfort. When it comes to safety and long-term living, Paraguay feels easy. Staying long-term isn't overly complicated. The expat community is small and quiet, not loud, not performative. People who choose Paraguay usually aren't chasing instant convenience. They're looking for a place where life can be set down, lower, slower, and deeper. Of course, Paraguay isn't for everyone. Entertainment options are limited. Nights are quiet and end early. If you're used to a fast pace and constant stimulation, this place may feel lacking. But for those tired of running, that lack becomes the space they've been missing. Paraguay doesn't sell a dream. It doesn't promise something grand. It simply gives you room to breathe. And sometimes in a world that feels increasingly crowded, that alone is enough to make people stay. $6,000 a year doesn't open the door to luxury. It doesn't bring abundance or things meant to impress others. What it gives back is space. Space for mornings that aren't pushed forward by alarms. Space for meals that don't feel rushed or incomplete. That amount also restores full presence. Being able to sit without thinking about what comes next. Conversations that don't need a purpose. Days that move slowly enough for you to realize you're still inside them, not watching life pass from a distance. More than anything, it offers a different way of living. Not better than anyone else's, and not something to compare. Simply a rhythm where people aren't measured by speed and worth, isn't tied to bills or pressure. So the final question isn't how much money you have. It's whether you're willing to step away from the life you're used to and try something different. If you could choose one place from this video to live for 6 months, which would it be? Leave your choice in the comments. And if you want to keep exploring stories about living lighter, slower, and more honestly, make sure to subscribe and continue this journey with us.